we can only understand God through our own consciousness. So if we have a very fear-based consciousness, then we will understand God to be a person who's going to do bad things to us if we do wrong things. And we would understand that line that uh, still I see the path through thy mercy. We would understand his mercy as maybe if I can bribe him enough or give him the right things, or he must get angry most of the time, but if I can find him in a moment where he's not angry, then maybe he'll give me something good. Uh, but if we have a consciousness that is not fear-based and that is perfectly love-based, then we know that God loves us all of the time. And that if there is darkness in life, it's not because God uh, hates us or is vengeful. At the end of the day, of course, he has made all of the good and the bad. But we also have to start taking responsibility for some of the bad in our lives, that we have done wrong actions in past lifetimes. And now the fruits of those actions are here. However, if God's mercy is there, and it is always there, if we can tune into that, we can remember to stay joyful even in difficult times. We can remember to see God as the doer in all things, in all situations. And we can remain calm and peaceful and centered. So this topic today, we can't it's important for us to try to understand things as the masters understand it. It's difficult for us to see beyond our own level of consciousness, but we can take those who are a step ahead of us and understand things from their consciousness. We can at least reach up that high. Until the end, of course, well, there's no need to even talk about these things because we simply know that God is everything. And there's nothing in that state, of course, to even do or talk about. That everything simply is and everything is perfect bliss. But until then, I guess most of us want to grapple with this mental question. Do I have to do it? Or does he do it? How do I win his grace? Master had a very beautiful prayer that I feel kind of answers this. And that is, I will reason, I will, and I will act. But guide thou my reason, will, and activity to the right course in everything. I think that solves it because then we're drawing on God's grace, on his power, his strength, in order to do the right things. But that still means that we have to do it. I'm going to just read maybe one or two lines from one of Swamiji's books. This book is The Promise of Immortality. The chapter is Be ye therefore perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect. And, well, let me read the line. So the line from the book is, what Jesus was saying was that perfection can be achieved and expressed outwardly only by God's grace. Personal effort can invite grace, but it cannot replace the need for it. That also sums up this whole thing for me very succinctly and very clearly. So do we have to act? Yes, we have to act. Why do we have to act? Why do we have to put personal effort out? In order to invite grace. But it can't replace that grace, that it only invites the grace. And I have just seen and felt that the more energy I put into serving God and other people, the more energy that I put into meditation, that energy, like a dynamo, that it attracts a certain grace that makes problems go away or finds solutions to problems. That energy flowing creates a magnetism which expands consciousness so that we can understand that in the end, God was the doer. But if we don't have that energy flow through us, we won't raise our consciousness to that level of awareness, that it will always seem to be hiding from us. The other thing worth talking about in that little reading was, "Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect." Um, that sounds a little difficult, to be that perfect. And the interesting thing is that we will never achieve that perfection by outward deeds of thinking, if I only pay my Vodafone phone bill 3 days before the bill is due, then I'll be perfect. I don't think God really cares if we pay 3 days before or one day before, or even if we mess up by a day or two and get the message from them. These things aren't the way that we're going to become perfect, even as God is perfect. That we're going to become perfect in understanding, in wisdom. Sometimes I practice Hong Sa, and I realize that I will never be able to have the awareness that I am seeking as long as the breath is moving back and forth. That means that the only way to really have that is to go breathless. That as long as the breath is moving in and out, then the mind is caught up in duality, and therefore it must see life as God and me as separate. But if we can even use Hong Sa, even without Kriya, and go so deep that the breath can just almost go away, then these veils, they start lifting on our consciousness. And we begin to understand that really it is all one. The saints say it all the time. It's all one. It's all one. And we kind of get it. It reminds me of one of Swamiji's brother monks. They were out trekking together, and I believe they were seeing a sunset and seeing the beautiful trees and a mountain. And the brother monk said, "It's beautiful, but if only I could feel it." That he knew that there was something behind that beauty, and that he wanted to be one with all of that. That he wanted to take that beauty into himself on a very deep level. So the same way, when the saints say it's all one, we grapple, we try to understand, what does that mean? If only we could feel it. If only we could feel what they mean when they say that it is all one. But we have to use our own personal effort to place ourselves in the readiness position, you could say. One of my friends will often say, if someone wants to serve you water and you're holding a glass, but the glass is upside down, you can't receive that water to drink it. That the glass has to be turned right side up. And it's the same way with our mind, with our heart, our energy. It all has to be uplifted. It all has to be ready to receive God. And this is where the self-effort comes in. That we have to learn how to become very sensitive with our energy so that we can keep it uplifted no matter what. And then we have to learn even to go beyond all of it, beyond all duality, and find the Guru, image of Brahma. That's also another chant I like very much. That chant just simply says, "Guru, image of Brahma, deliver us from delusion." And that ultimately it's the Guru who will take us out of delusion. The Guru is God personified. But let's realize that it's not through gifts, that God can't be bribed, except he can be bribed by our love. That's the one thing where God can be bribed with. And so if we can learn to perfect that love, we can learn to receive God. And that's the only way that we can learn to become perfect, even as God is perfect. So it's time for me now to hand everything over to Primdas, and it's a joy to be with all of you.
Thank you, Jamaji. Yeah, it's always a joy being with all of you. We are also exploring this subject, and deepening our spiritual life with all of you who are all sharing this blessing and this journey together. So, like Jamalji was saying, I'll just pick it up from this a book called Essence of Self-Realization. All these talks, and Swami Kriyananda ji noted all the discussions Yogananda ji had. So I'll read from there. So today we are again bringing the focus back to grace versus self-effort. So I'll just, okay, so let's see. In the history of religion, there is a perennial debate as to which is more important, divine grace, kripa, as it is called in India, or human effort. The answer is quite simple, and the masters have tried repeatedly to convey it to people in their teachings. Man must do his best, of course. His best, however, will be crowned with success to the extent that he realizes that it isn't he as human being who is acting, but God who is acting through him, inspiring and guiding him. To think of God as the doer doesn't make a person passive. It takes a great effort of will to be receptive to him. The devotee must offer himself positively and joyfully into the flow of inner grace. The power that is in you is your own, but God given. Use it. God won't use it for you. The more you attune your will during activity to His infinite will, the more you will find His power and blessing strengthening and guiding you in everything you do. I think this really tells what Jamalji, as he was telling, and this whole discussion about how self-effort, and it's not really self-effort versus grace. Now, as we are exploring the subject, it looks like self-effort and grace, self-effort or self-effort with grace. So self-effort also draws grace. This is what one of my Guru Bhai friends told me when I was moving to monastery. That person said, you're taking the step in one direction, so you'll also draw. You're doing a self-effort to join the community, and so then the grace will also be there when you put out that energy. I think all of you here, you all have put out that effort to learn Kriya or to keep coming here to try to be in tune. So this all attracts grace. And from my own little experience, also how the grace goes sometimes when we are not in tune, when everything is going well and somehow you are indifferent to others and something, then I feel that sometimes the grace decreases, or I'm not able to meditate more, or I'm not able to chant more. So it goes both ways. So when you have more grace, try to be more in tune, and when you don't have, also try to attract it or try to be in tune or try to put out that energy, and then it happens. So I thought I also would take this opportunity to share with you a story from the blog. It might be from Jyotishan Deviji's long back, so I tried to search it, but I'll paraphrase it for you. This is in this blog, I think a devotee has a dream, and this devotee, I think, is going through some challenges, and in this dream it feels like it's manifested there. And in this dream, this devotee has some pickaxe sort of the tool, and there's a big garbage dump in front of him. And then this person is slowly taking his pickaxe, taking the dirt, putting it on the other side. It's a huge leap. And now even thinking of it, how much karma or how much we have to go through to reach God or to attain salvation. So I think this is a good example. And then what is the hope here? Here, this person is doing his best with his pickaxe, trying to move the dirt out. And then what happens? Then what is happening is, then he also realizes there's a sound or something happening behind the scene. So this devotee slowly walks behind and there sees, I think I'm paraphrasing, but this is in his dream what happened. So what happened is, there's a JCB and master is sitting in the JCB and he's moving all this dirt away in one shot. It's like so much lump of dirt or whatever it's symbolic of is being moved by Guru. I think this is so much, I think what is happening in all our lives. We do little and God and Guru are taking on. You all would have seen after coming onto spiritual path, how things flow. It feels like the evolution has just quickened after the discipleship ceremony or even after Kriya and with all their teachings and grace. And how wonderful it is for all of us to be devotees of these great line of gurus, and that we can also call upon them in need. Like Babaji says, if anybody calls his name with reverence, an instant blessing is felt. It's said in the autobiography of Yogi. So I also remembered one more small this thing. It might be in a newspaper article I read. In this story, a person is walking on the beach. Somehow, this person is so in tune with God that whenever he speaks with God, he also sees these 2 feet walking along with him. So now he was very joyful and he's so in tune, everything is going well. And suddenly, life sometimes ups and downs. This time, the crashing wave, and he's in the down, little moody, and somehow he's walking on the beach trying to speak, and he sees no 2 steps. And okay, then the difficulties are there, and he can't see these 2 feet which are walking beside him. He's thinking, where is God in my difficult situation? And then suddenly things change, and then suddenly, after some moment of all this drama, he meets God. And still this question is still existing. He asked God finally, God, I knew that I could see your 2 steps when I was in good space and everything. What happened when I was in difficult situation? I could not see your 2 steps, 2 feet marking on this desert sand or the ocean sand. So the God says to him, during the difficult times, it was me carrying you. I was within you carrying you. It was not me beside you. I could not be beside you during when you were going through hard times. How comforting it is that we have God, gurus, and who take such good care of us. Yeah, we all should be so happy and joyful, I think, just knowing that such grace, such blessings are coming on towards us. Okay, and so now I'll try to read one more thing from the same Essence of Self-Realization, Grace versus Self-Effort is the chapter name. If you have tuned in, if you have not yet tuned in, we would highly recommend you do it. So let me open that now. And this is one more fine thing, this thing. It is called How to Receive Divine Grace. Now we all have been speaking on how important it is, and now we'll see how to attract more and more of this divine grace. Okay, and so here it is. I'll just read it again for you. Okay, now here it's an example. So it says, there are many stones lying about on the ground, but very few of them are diamonds. Spiritual truths, similarly, are not easy to find amid the confusion of human opinions. Divine grace is like the most precious of those rare diamonds. It is there to be found by all who seek it diligently. But in order to find it, one must do more than glance through a few books or attend a few lectures. Grace cannot be found where people merely believe it to be. It must be sought in the right way, in the right place, and in the right spirit. Okay, now here's the important secret being revealed. The right spirit is the attitude of unconditional love for God. The right place is within yourself, and the right way is in the silence of deep meditation. To find God, you must attune yourself to His ways. I'll just repeat the last sentence. The right spirit is an attitude of unconditional love for God. The right place is within yourself. The right way is in the silence of deep meditation. To find God, you must attune yourself to His ways. And how lucky we are to have received all these yoga teachings and techniques to find God and to receive God. Each time doing your kriya or doing your meditation, offering yourself completely up. And again, receiving His grace in each and every kriya or hongs or any technique we practice with all these teachings which our masters have given, Paramahansa Yoganandaji, we can keep drawing more and more grace. And there was a devotee, I think I was reading through one of the letters, somebody asked Swami Kriyanandaji, why is that we need to practice techniques? Or somehow this person was feeling techniques were somehow hindering this communion with God, with the love or the feeling. This person was more, maybe let's say, some sort of bhakti yogi in which nothing was needed and just this was needed. And then Swami Kriyanandaji answers to look at these techniques more as a way of connecting. These are like showing, which are like how do I explain? It's also like God's grace is on everyone. It's like the sunlight on a building, but somehow we have to open the window curtain for the light to come through. In the same way, these yoga teachings help us to open this, clear our mind, and open this curtain so that the grace of God can be attracted to us. And so this, all these yoga teaching, don't think it as separate, but think it also as the way to help with our grace, help with our attunement, and with all our teachings. And there's so much in our path. By even doing, like Master said, even 1%, we can reach there. So, but we have to do our 100% for that 1%. So we'll keep doing it. So recently, I heard from a devotee this. I think he was just telling, but he remembered Master's words. Never think that this path is not for me. Just like wherever, whatever situation, if you're even not able to meditate a day or going through a bad phase, just keep speaking to Master and keep this world as presently going through hard times. But somehow with your grace and with your blessings, you can also bring this, what do you call, share this joy with all your family, and wherever you walk around, it'll be much joyful, and you'll be able to serve world better when we ourselves are in a higher consciousness. And somehow Ananda and all our spiritual teachings help us to be at a higher consciousness. When we are at higher consciousness, we take care of all these things. And now I would request Jamalji to also continue, maybe wrap it up, or give us all an activity so that we can do something to tune in more to this coming week.
Thanks, Premdas. First, I just wanted to say about grace that just kind of think a little bit more of what is grace, and that it's God's power, yes, but it's also, what made me think about this is we read a line there, unconditional love, that if we can give God our unconditional love. I also see grace as God's unconditional love, that it's what he will give to us just because. I mean, there's almost no reason for it. It's just because he loves us, and it's not even something we have to earn. And anyway, it's worth thinking about in your own way, in your own time, what is God's grace exactly, and what do we need to do? Anyways, these are things that ultimately start to go beyond words. However, we just learned that by our right efforts that we can attract God's grace. So we thought it might be a nice experiment for this week, in order for you to take one thing that maybe you could do a little bit better. And Master said that if you want to build your willpower, don't take something that's been troubling you for incarnations and then suddenly tomorrow just decide that you're not going to do it anymore, if you're not confident that you have the willpower to overcome that bad habit. First, start with smaller bad habits that you're confident that you can win the battle, and take up that battle and win. And so take some habit or something you want to change about yourself, and do it. I want this to be a success, so take up a battle you know that you can win. But then beyond only trying to rely on your own willpower, we also would like if you pray and ask for God's grace to come into your life and give you the strength to overcome whatever challenge this is that you're facing, or whatever way that you want to improve yourself, so that you can become perfect even as God in heaven is perfect. And this experiment, this homework assignment, will allow each one of us to feel the balance between our will and our self-effort, and utilizing God's grace to help us become perfect. I love this because Premdas and I, we do these homework assignments with you. that we don't just tell you to do it. So I'm looking forward to also participating in this. And then we'll come back again next week and we'll carry on with this topic of grace.